Hey guys, welcome back to Red Devil TV. Man United versus Burnley away from home. We literally just faced Burnley a couple of weeks ago. The only team we actually haven't faced from the first half of the season is Brighton. So I'm looking forward to the Brighton game. But the Burnley game, look guys, let's talk about what happened in that last game. McTominay had a fantastic game. Look, what was it? I think in that game he was playing more of a box-to-box role with Matic as a centre defensive midfielder, and it allowed McTominay to get forward and really put those passes towards the forward line and even get some shots off the outside the box of his own. So I think this game is going to be an interesting one. I would not be surprised to see McTominay play this game. And to be honest, he should play. He played very well in that game. I think he was man of the match in that game. I gave him man of the match in that game. And personally, I would play him. I'll play him with possibly... Look, I think Bruno and Pogba are going to remain in that midfield. And once we get into the lineup, we can discuss those things. And I think, look, in regards to the previous game that we had against Middlesbrough in the FA Cup, what let us down is the finishing of our strikers and our creative players and our attackers. That's what let us down. We can talk about Rangnick. We can talk about maybe, the fact that he should have made different subs, which not really. He had the subs on the bench that he had to use. He had to bring on Matty. He had to bring on Fred. That was Pogba's first game. He needed to bring on players who were on the bench. Van de Beek wasn't there. Lingard wasn't there. Cavani wasn't there. And you know what? I'm starting to think, look, I don't think Lingard wants to be there. In terms of Cavani, I don't think he wants to be there either. And I'm concerned about Cavani because at what level... I know he goes out there and he puts his all on the pitch. But in terms of Cavani, I think he would have struggled in the Middlesbrough game anyway, in my opinion. I think it was... Look, I think a lot of players had a few chances to score goals. I think especially Rashford and Bruno. I think Ronaldo had one or two as well, with a penalty he usually puts in straight away. He very rarely misses. But I think in this case, it was an off game for the players in our team who are quite clinical. I would say Bruno and Ronaldo are quite clinical attacking players. And in that game, what we saw was a lot of the time we saw Ronaldo and Bruno constantly arguing to each other about being in the same position. There was one time where there was a cross put into the box and Bruno and Ronaldo were in the same position and they went for the header and Ronaldo was a bit off balance because Bruno was right behind him. And I think there needs to be some sort of... Rangnick needs to sort that out. I think Bruno at times is way too high up the pitch, and I think sometimes he's way too deep on the pitch as well. But I think Bruno needs to find that balance between being an attacking player as well as being a number 8, which is more of a box-to-box. I think long-term we could see a change in the team where Rangnick decides to put maybe Bruno slightly behind Pogba. And in this game, look, I think McTominay is going to play that centre defensive midfield role. I think they played 120 minutes. I think there's a possibility that Matic plays this game and he continues with Pogba and Bruno, because I think Pogba had a fantastic game when he first came against Middlesbrough in the first half particularly. I think he was great on the ball. He was good defensively, which, he hasn't been this season. In the first half of the season, he was a bit shocking defensively. Kept losing the ball in dangerous position. His tackles were terrible. He got a red card against Liverpool. But he showed good composure, but I think he's still suspect defensively. There are times where he puts in a tackle, he's nowhere near the ball. I would rather see Bruno in that position. Bruno has more of an engine, in my opinion. I think Pogba, regardless of what position he plays, he's still going to be an attacking threat. I just think Bruno has the ability to be more trustworthy defensively, I would say. And he can still develop that as well. In terms of the lineup, let's talk about, I think Tellers will come back in for Luke Shaw. I think Luke Shaw wasn't great in that game. I thought his crosses were poor. He looked out of position sometimes. And, come on, the corners were absolutely shocking from Luke Shaw. They were too high, not enough whip on them. You really expect someone to get onto those crosses, to get onto the end of those crosses. It's not going to happen. And look, in terms of Dalot, I think the problem with Dalot is he puts in the crosses at the wrong time. So when he puts in the crosses, they're either not good crosses or there's no one in the box, And for me, look, I want to see Dalot start with Tellez. And look, I like Luke Shaw. I think he's better than Tellez, but I think there's something up with Luke Shaw. He's not great this season, and I want to see Tellez back in. I want to see Dalot. I want to see Varane, and I want to see Lindelof if he's back. In terms of midfield, I think personally he's going to go with Matic, Pogba and Bruno. But to be honest, I would like to see McTominay in that role. I think McTominay has a place in this team to develop into that role. I don't think he was poor against Middlesbrough. Again, Middlesbrough, a championship team. But I think McTominay can definitely develop that attribute of being a centre defensive midfield. He has the physicality for it. He has good passing when he's driving forward. It's just he cannot afford to get himself out of position. He cannot afford to go way too high up the pitch. And then if we lose the ball, which he does do sometimes, McTominay, he can be a bit shocking on the ball sometimes. He can let the pass get off really poorly, or he gets intercepted very easily. McTominay needs to... His vision, in my opinion, is not the greatest. McTominay, he needs to show off his passing range. I want to see him in the centre defensive midfield role. Composure, I don't want to see Pogba and Bruno, whether they play switch positions in that midfield. I don't mind. I would like to see Pogba a bit higher than Bruno, because Bruno and Ronaldo keep getting in that same position. Pogba will always look to create, whereas Bruno, I think at times, is way too far forward. He's almost like a second number 9. You know, when you play a 4-4-1-1 and then you got a centre forward right behind a striker. I think that's sometimes what Bruno does, and it gets in the way of Ronaldo's position in the box a lot of the time. In regards to the striking positions, in terms of the 3 up front, I would go with Sancho on the right this time, because come on, he needs to play on the right. I don't get why Rangnick's playing him on the left. I feel like he just put Rashford there. I mean, look, it's quite clear that Rashford has not been crossing the ball enough, and I feel like he put them there to pass more, and he ended up not doing it enough. He didn't cross that many times, put in one cross. Put Sancho there. He's a better crosser of the ball. He's more creative than Rashford. Put Elanga on the left and put Ronaldo up top. I think Cavani, there's a chance Cavani could come back in. I think it was just an off game for our offensive players. I can't even lie to you. And in regards to McTominay, what I really mean with McTominay is I think he has the physicality. He has the ability to do it, for sure. We saw it in the Middlesbrough in the first half. He was getting the ball off the defenders. He was getting himself involved, almost like what Matic does. Of course, Matic is a way better defensive midfielder because he's done it all his life. But in regards to McTominay, I think he can do that role. He just needs to develop it. It's just a lot of the time he can be suspect on the ball. Same with Fred. I think they have very similar weaknesses, Fred and McTominay, even though they're very different players in terms of the way they look. The physical, of course, Scott is more physical, but they have that same weakness. When they're on the ball, they can lose the ball. Their pass can sometimes be off. We saw it in the Middlesbrough game. When McTominay in that second half, when he starts to get tired, you see it. His passes are off. He's not as composed defensively. He gets overrun, and I think it's the same with Fred. And McTominay needs to learn how to keep the ball. Don't hide in between the 2 centre backs from the opposition team, and get the ball forward. And that's it. Get to the ball to the midfield and let them do the rest of the job. So, guys, in terms of the result, I think we beat them 3-1 earlier on this season. I think we're going to beat them again. Away from home is a different story, but I'm expecting us to win 2-1. Let me know what you think. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys later.